There is a thought experiment that Warren Buffett has returned to more than almost any other across his 95 years, and it begins with a simple request. Imagine your own funeral, not as an abstraction or a philosophical exercise, but as a concrete event that will happen. Imagine the room, the people, the silence, and then imagine what a person standing at the podium says about the life you lived. Because when Buffett looks back across nearly a century of building wealth, making decisions, and observing thousands of human lives unfold around him, he has arrived at a conclusion that surprises almost everyone who hears it. The things that matter at the end are almost never the things people spend their lives chasing. He describes it as the difference between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Resume virtues are the things you list on LinkedIn, the accomplishments you bring to the marketplace, the numbers that measure your professional worth. Managed a team of 50, increased profits by 20%, graduated from a prestigious university. These are loud and impressive, and society rewards them generously with money, status, and applause. But eulogy virtues are something entirely different. These are the things people say about you when you are gone. Was he kind? Did he listen? Was he honest when it would have been easier to lie? Did he love unconditionally? And the brutal truth that Buffett learned through decades of watching successful people reach the end of their lives is that nobody, at the very end, cares about your resume. This realization led him to identify 5 specific truths that he considers the essential framework for a life that actually means something when the clock runs out. And the first truth is the one he considers the foundation for everything that follows. The first truth is the principle of living by an inner scorecard rather than an outer scorecard. From the moment a person is born, the world trains them to look outside themselves for validation. Gold stars in school, grades on report cards, job titles, salary numbers, social media followers. Everything is external. Everything is designed to make you ask a single question: what do other people think of me? The problem is that the outer scorecard is a moving target controlled by people who do not care about your well-being. If your self-worth depends on the applause of others, you have handed the keys to your happiness to strangers who will change their minds without warning. Buffett illustrates this with a question he has posed to thousands of students. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover but have everyone believe you are the worst? Or would you rather be the worst but have everyone believe you are the greatest? The answer reveals whether a person is more concerned with the reality of who they are or merely the perception. And it was this principle that carried Buffett through one of the most difficult periods of his career. In 1999, during the dot-com bubble, the entire world was buying shares of companies with no earnings, no business model, and sometimes no actual product. Taxi drivers were becoming millionaires overnight. Media analysts were calling Buffett a dinosaur, a relic who did not understand the new economy. The outer scorecard said he was failing. The pressure to conform was immense. But his inner scorecard told him the math was insane, and he sat on his hands and watched people make fortunes while he looked like a fool. Then the bubble burst, the fortunes evaporated, and he was still standing. The second truth extends the inner scorecard outward into the most important decision a person will ever make, which is not a financial investment but a human one. The people you choose to let into your life will determine the trajectory of everything else. Buffett has said repeatedly that the single most important investment decision he ever made was not buying Coca-Cola or Apple, but choosing who to marry. This is not sentimentality, it is arithmetic. A person can have extraordinary intelligence, relentless work ethic, and perfect inner principles, but if they tie their life to someone who is dishonest, emotionally unstable, or constantly pulling them backward, they will fail because they are rowing a boat with an anchor dragging across the ocean floor. This extends beyond marriage to every relationship in the inner circle. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And human beings are social chameleons who unconsciously absorb the attitudes, habits, and ambitions of the tribe they belong to. Buffett learned early to associate only with people he liked, trusted, and admired, and he applied a specific filter to every person in his professional life. Look for intelligence, energy, and integrity. But if they do not have the last one, the first two will destroy you. A smart, energetic person without integrity is not an asset. They are a weapon pointed at everyone around them. The third truth addresses the most dangerous word in the English language, which is not a profanity but the word yes. Society glorifies saying yes to opportunities, networking events, extra projects, and social obligations, and people wear their busyness like a badge of honor. But Buffett arrived at a distinction that separates merely successful people from truly exceptional ones. Successful people say yes to almost everything. Really successful people say no to almost everything. He illustrated this with a story about his personal pilot, Mike Flint, who felt stuck despite being talented and ambitious. Buffett asked him to write down his top 25 lifetime goals, then circle only the 5 most important. When Flint said he would work on the remaining 20 when he had spare time, Buffett corrected him with a principle that sounds counterintuitive but proves devastatingly accurate in practice. Those 20 goals are not your backup plan. They are your avoid-at-all-costs list. Because the enemy of the great is not the bad. Nobody destroys their life chasing obviously terrible ideas. People destroy their lives chasing good ideas. Things that are kind of interesting, kind of profitable, kind of fun, and those good enough pursuits steal the time and energy that should have gone toward the few things that truly matter. When Buffett looks at the history of Berkshire Hathaway, their success reduces to approximately 12 great decisions across 50 years, roughly one every 4 or 5 years. Everything else was reading, thinking, and saying no. The fourth truth concerns the most fragile thing a person will ever possess, which is their reputation. Buffett has repeated the same sentence to his managers, partners, and children for more than half a century. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. 20 years of showing up on time, keeping promises, and being honest when dishonesty would have been easier. All of it constructed brick by brick into a tower of trust, and then one moment of greed, anger, or weakness can burn it entirely to the ground. And unlike money, which can be earned back, a damaged reputation is like a cracked piece of fine porcelain. It can be glued together, but it will never ring true again. The practical tool he developed for protecting this is the newspaper test. Before any significant decision, imagine that a smart but unfriendly reporter will write a detailed story about your action, and that story will appear on the front page of your local newspaper tomorrow morning, read by your family, your children, and your neighbors over breakfast coffee. If imagining that article makes you uncomfortable, the decision is simple. Do not do it. Trust, not currency, is the real medium of exchange in business and in life. It is why people sell their companies to Berkshire Hathaway on a handshake, and it is why doors close permanently for people who prove themselves unreliable, regardless of how intelligent they might be. The fifth and final truth is the one Buffett considers the ultimate measure of whether a life was actually successful, and it has nothing to do with money. At 95 years old, having accumulated more wealth than almost any human being in history, he states with absolute certainty that when you reach the end, you will measure your success by one metric only: how many of the people you wanted to have love you actually do love you. He has watched titans of industry die alone in hospital rooms, surrounded not by the people who love them, but by employees checking the stock market on their phones. And he has watched school teachers and small business owners die surrounded by an army of people who held their hands and cried tears of genuine loss. The difference was never what they owned but who they were. The paradox that makes this truth so difficult is that love cannot be purchased. You can buy companionship and flattery and testimonial dinners, but the only way to receive genuine love is to be genuinely lovable, and the only way to become lovable is to give love away freely. In economics, scarcity creates value, but in the economics of the human heart, generosity creates value. The more love you give, the more you receive. Buffett has watched men sacrifice their families on the altar of ambition, missing the baseball games and anniversaries because they were too busy building legacies. only to wake up at 80 years old with an empire that stands cold and impressive, while the house sits empty and the phone never rings. These 5 truths form a complete architecture for a life that means something when the final accounting is done. The Inner Scorecard provides the foundation of authenticity. The right people provide the support structure. The art of subtraction removes everything that dilutes your impact. The protection of reputation ensures you can operate with trust and integrity across decades. And the pursuit of love, given freely and earned honestly, provides the only metric that ultimately matters at the summit of the mountain.